Hey everyone, it's Ivan, kpatch.com, out here for another gear review, and today, talking optics, pistol optics, this one right here, which is the Aimpoint ACRO P2. Broad strokes, what is it? It is an optic made for pistols. This being the P2, second generation, versus the ACRO P1, and this one, I think probably some meaningful improvements. I actually never spent time with that first ACRO, the P1. I do, however, have some friends who ended up running into issues. One, basically this turned into an aquarium. Aimpoint was good about warranting it. Heard some other issues, but they came out with a P2, and since then, everything I've heard and my experience has actually been really good, and some pretty cool features with it. First and foremost, honestly, the most important thing for me with this P2 is it's fully enclosed. So there's a LED emitter, just like pretty much any other red dot. It's projected on there. You have a number of lenses. They're all purged, nitrogen, whatever it may be. Basically, I have never had this fog up, and that's the point of purging. Also, with that, you just don't get anything in there. So if you've used RMRs or any other kind of reflex sight like that, basically the emitter's exposed. So what can and does eventually happen, so you get something in there, blocks the emitter. You go present the pistol, there's no dot there because it's obscured. Or you'll get water in there, you'll present and you're like, oh man, which dot should I choose? Because it'll get refracted into a bunch. This does not happen. And especially spending a lot of time out of doors, whether it's rain or snow. Again, I've definitely pulled a pistol out of a holster and had my optic just packed with snow. This is a non-issue, and if for whatever reason you do get something on the surface, you just wipe it off. So really important to me. In addition to that, it's an Aimpoint. So use a CR 2032, I believe it is, 50,000 hours, like 5 years at a certain setting, not max setting. I want to say with respect to also on here, you basically adjust. It says up, down. The other thing that's nice is it actually says on it, where is it? There we go. Well, one, plus it says increase, negative, decrease. But then also next to the negative, it says hold for off. So if you actually want to turn it off, there it is. Versus all kinds of weird different optics where it's like press both at the same time. Honestly, I hate those. I think HoloSun does that. I never hit them at the same time. It takes forever to turn it off. But this, you can turn it off if you want, manually adjust, which personally I really like. In part, like, yes, I get it. You have to be more involved with your pistol, but especially if you're carrying a light, hey, I need this to adjust, or I need this adjusted for when I activate my light, it doesn't get washed out. And this gives you all of that adjustment. I want to say there's 6 daylight and 4 night vision, which is also really nice, being able to actually shoot this under night vision and with those 4 settings, not have, depending on ambient conditions, not have this blown out. Like you can actually get it really dim to where you can actually shoot passive, which is pretty cool if you're going to do something like that. Other things worth mentioning is this being made and honestly sold to military, law enforcement, stuff like that. Really good with respect to environmentals. I want to say it's submersible up to 35 meters in case you are going to throw on a rebreather and go do some hood rat stuff. Also with it, temperature rating is from like 150 to -60, something wild. I don't remember exactly. Weight wise, you're looking at, I think 2.1 ounces and just under 2 inches. And then I think it's 1.2 by 1.3 inches dimensionally, something in there. As far as your actual window that you're looking through, a little bigger than 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. I will say not as nice as a T1 or T2 rather. That said, this is actually made for a pistol. And I'm not sure what it is, but with respect to recoil, this is made to handle pistol recoil, which is in somehow different largely than rifle recoil. Just things respond differently. So this is specifically made for a pistol. Having said that, Aimpoint says, hey, you can absolutely use this on carbine shotgun as a backup, whether it's at 12 o'clock or offset for like a bolt gun, use it next to a spotting scope, thermal, whatever it may be, you can. Personally, I have really only shot this on a pistol, and when it comes to something like that, like another sighting system, or even using this as a primary on a rifle, I wouldn't. Between this and honestly a T2, I would rather have a T2. Part of it is the MOA dot, or I guess 2 MOA on the T2, I think. Either way, this is 3.5, and on pretty much anything other than a pistol, I would much rather just a smaller dot to help refine that point of aim. Which then brings me to how I've actually used this. Well, largely it's pretty much spent most of its time on this pistol right here, which is a Walther PDP SD, or sorry, PDP Pro SD. And done a lot of shooting with it, to include actually shot this at a Press Check Consulting, the no fail pistol class, which, man, it was really hard. Definitely a very high level or very high accuracy standard through that whole thing. Lots of pasting up targets and accountability for where those holes are. But this did a really good job there. I also used it on a number of other places, whether it was some kind of, well, one, just range days, things like that, or some kind of fun little competitions too. Overall, I've really enjoyed it. It has done a great job for me. It does the main thing I want it to do, enclosed emitter on a optic. At this point, 2024, as filming this, why anyone makes an exposed emitter, don't get it. And I do understand it, because the reason is because of footprint. So if you look at an RMR footprint, because of where, and they kind of set the gold standard for optics and like mounting plates, because of where those bolts go through, it makes it really hard to actually have an enclosed red dot on a pistol. Aimpoint basically departed from that so they could make a full-on enclosed red dot, and the way they do it is it basically clamps from the side, almost like a miniature pick rail clamping in there. But yeah, I've been really pleased. I have, not on any of my guns, I've actually used these as a secondary sighting system on rifles. Going back to what I said earlier, personally, I would much rather just have a Aimpoint T2 on one of those rather than something like this, but they do work. Really like it on a pistol though. Have I ran into any issues, or is there anything I don't care for? Well, haven't ran into issues, and yes, there's something I don't care for. Namely, that being is already with Aimpoint, like micro T1, T2, the way you adjust your sight, windage elevation, it uses the little 2 prongs, which is basically the cover, which is fine. They make a little Aimpoint tool. Well, this does not. This actually uses, I forget which, but it basically uses a Torx, probably like a T15 or something like that, which is fine. But again, just a total departure, and like, man, just pick one, because there are little holes on here, almost like you would use a Aimpoint adjusting tool. They do not work. Different pattern for whatever reason. I don't know why. All that said, who do I think this is good for? Well, honestly, someone looking for a really robust, solid, enclosed emitter pistol sight. We're now at the point where most guns, honestly, there's optic plates that you can get for them, and the Aimpoint ACRO is supported by pretty much all major pistol manufacturers. So you can either get a optic plate for it, usually from the factory or something, or there's a number of people that will actually cut a pistol if you want to direct mount it, which can be really nice because you can actually get them set low enough to where you can, almost low enough, but you can get them cut low enough to where if it's direct mounted, you'll actually be able to use factory sights through it rather than get some sort of suppressor height sights. Price-wise, you can find cheaper, to include cheaper, enclosed emitter red dots for a pistol out there. But most of them probably not going to handle like 35 meters underwater. Does that matter? Honestly, for a lot of people, it probably doesn't. One of the things I will say with Aimpoint is you're paying for, just like certain optic manufacturers like rifle scopes, a lot of R&D and testing that goes into probably environments that you're not going to use it. So if you're looking for the kind of cryo once, buy once, or buy once, cryo once, this might be it. Price wise, I want to say MSRP is like $600 or something. You can usually find it for less. There'll be links down below if you want to check it out. But yeah, I've been really pleased with it. And yeah, solid pistol optic. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadge.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Who ripped me off? She was